Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor to introduce the Ambassador of the United States to the Czech Republic, His Excellency, Mr. Nicholas Merrick, who officially began his mission in Prague in October 2025 after presenting his credentials to President Petr Pavel. Although born in Pittsburgh, Ambassador Merrick has strong ties to the great state of Texas, the state with the largest population of Czech Americans. Texas is known for its friendly and hardworking people, its energy industry, and of course, its famous kolaches. President Pavel himself visited the Lone Star State in 2024, where he met with the Texas National Guard and took part in a successful event co-organized by the Atlantic Council and Jagello 2000. As you may know, in just a few days, Ambassador Merrick will join the Czech delegation led by the first Deputy Prime Minister Karel Havlíček on a visit to the United States, accompanied by a robust business delegation. This is a clear signal and clear sign that he believes diplomacy does not mean sitting behind a desk, but rather turning partnerships into real projects and results. Ambassador Merrick arrives in Prague bringing a valuable blend of business leadership and diplomatic engagement, shaped by his academic experience at the University of Virginia and Harvard University. And since assuming his post, he has made clear that robust defense investment strengthens Czech and NATO security at a time when it is needed more than ever. And we very much look forward to hearing his remarks today. But he is equally committed to expanding trade, fostering innovation, supporting the entrepreneurship spirit, and advancing our shared values and interests. These pillars are essential to ensuring long-term stability and prosperity on both sides of the Atlantic. In short, Ambassador Merrick believes our cooperation should be active, not passive, driven by joint projects, shared interests, and tangible results. That is the agenda he brings to Prague. Well, in his first months here have already been impressive, and he has quickly established himself as one of the most visible members of the diplomatic corps. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ambassador Nicholas Merrick.
President Pavel, First Deputy Prime Minister Havlíček, Mr. President of the Senate, Mr. President of the Chamber of Deputies, distinguished ministers, members of Parliament, leaders of the armed forces, and esteemed colleagues. I'm encouraged to see so many here today, and thank you, Jagello 2000, for convening a conference so clear about its intentions. Czech security and our collective security as NATO allies truly cannot be taken for granted, and the title of this event could not be more relevant now. We are living in dangerous times, and our discussion today should focus on how we can make it a bit less dangerous. There's a great deal happening in the world today, and I want to acknowledge at the top that we have seen and appreciate high-level statements of support from our Czech partners. My remarks today will focus on Czechia, where there is no greater tool for addressing those dangers than NATO, an alliance where collectively we are all safer as we commit to and invest in collective security. Our shared ironclad commitment to collective defense under Article 5 is grounded in the very real threats we face. And Article 3 is equally important. Each ally commits to have the forces, capabilities, resources, infrastructure, warfighting readiness, and resilience needed to deter and defend. As everyone in this room knows, at the NATO summit at The Hague last June, all 32 allies that agreed that we face profound security threats and challenges. All allies, including Czechia, committed to meet capability targets and their resulting funding levels. It's vital to have a viable plan to meet those targets. These numbers, 3.5% of GDP for core defense and 1.5% for cross-functional investments totaling 5%, all achieved in the next 10 years, are not arbitrary. They're not an American demand, nor were they simply a signature by one government easily discarded by another. They were an agreement among sovereign allies, each of which relies on the others without exception. They reflect the investment necessary for security and deterrence. And the Czech people understand this. 80% of the Czechs agree that NATO membership is essential for the defense and security of the Czech Republic, according to recent polling. Czechs believe in NATO, but that belief must be matched by capability, by commitment. According to defense experts, current core defense spending included in the 2026 draft budget will be approximately 1.8% of GDP, well below not only the Hague Summit commitment, but even below the previous Wales Summit commitment and last year's levels. At 1.8%, Czechia would risk being among the lowest spenders in the alliance. Let me say that again. At around 1.8% of GDP, Czechia would risk being among the lowest spenders in the alliance and would be demonstrating negative momentum compared to peer NATO partners. But more importantly, this level of spending means Czechia risks not meeting its self-identified capability targets. If Czechia fails to fulfill its commitments, it impacts the entire alliance. And I don't need to remind you and the Czech people how essential it is that allies honor commitments. These commitments are not just about spending, they are about strengthening NATO and ensuring it functions as intended, an alliance of 32 strong and capable allies. We know that together, European NATO allies have the potential to be substantially more powerful than any adversary, but each of us, including Czechia, must translate that potential into tangible capabilities. Every leader in the alliance is approaching this as a generational commitment. We cannot defer difficult decisions to some future budget cycle. All NATO members also have future elections, complex coalitions, and opposing political parties, campaign resources, campaign promises, and the competing claims on finite government resources. All of Czechia's allies, facing their own political pressures and fiscal constraints, are making hard choices, both across the continent and across the Atlantic. Increasing defense capabilities is fundamentally something Czechia needs to do for Czechs, a generational investment in your own security. How to make those investments to best achieve capabilities remains a sovereign decision, but I'm here to underscore the basic commitment that has already been made and why it matters. This commitment is about ensuring that your warfighters have the equipment, supplies, and training they need, that your airspace is secure, that your infrastructure is resilient to ensure your nation is prepared, that your people are safe. And should conflict come, there is no security in sitting on the sidelines. Security comes from commitment. Commitment leads to capabilities. Capabilities make us stronger, and only this strength leads to deterrence. Deterrence is real security. But here in Prague, we are still having conversations about the first step on that path, commitment. Our two countries have strong foundations in the relationships between our people, dating back to the founding of Czechoslovakia. And today, the Trump administration has excellent relationships with the coalition government. Next week, I'm excited to join First Deputy Prime Minister Havlicek on his trip to Texas, where we will have consequential meetings with members of President Trump's cabinet and other senior government officials. These high-level meetings are not routine or typical. Many countries do not have such access, but Czechia does. because Washington recognizes that you are a great friend and partner with many shared values and a high potential for joint projects focused on shared economic prosperity. At the same time, Mr. Havlicek will also hear the exact same message regarding NATO and our joint security that Czech leaders have heard from our senior-most government officials, particularly since last June's summit, that all countries must have an actionable plan to meet capability targets and consequentially grow core defense spending from 2% to 3.5% over the next 10 years, with positive momentum expected for 2026. If a strong transatlantic alliance is to meet today's strategic challenges, we should not misunderstand each other on this point. There is no alternative to real change, to real commitment without delay. If we are serious about defending our people, then we must match words with resources, commitments with capabilities, and belief with action. This is the moment for clarity, for communicating whether each of us, including Czechia, is fully committed. Czechia needs NATO, just as NATO needs Czechia. And just as the NATO needs the United States needs a strong NATO. The United States is doing its part. We will continue to do so. We ask our allies, including the Czech Republic, to do the same. Our shared security requires it because at the end of the day, we are in this together. Thank you very much.